Okay guys, today I get to show you core. We get to start core. I'm going to start with one of the most basic things I want you to know, which is called 3D pelvic tilts. Three-dimensional pelvic tilts. We're going to start off laying on your back. Your feet are down at medium stance, comfortably on something that's soft enough that you can move your pelvis. What you're going to do is you're going to push into the floor, driving your feet into the floor, and rock your pelvis as far under as you can. That's called a pelvic tuck. And then you're going to do the opposite. You're going to roll the opposite way. So then that makes a space underneath your back. Rock, push the spine down into the ground. There's no space under the spine. And then arch. Keep doing that. What that does is that creates an undulating effect through the spine, and it pushes the fluids all through the spinal area. The tissues around the spine, the muscles, the vertebral discs, everything is getting juiced up, hydrated, nourished. We're pushing things around. We're driving energy through that system. So I'm pushing with my feet, pulling with my feet. Pushing, driving my spine down. When you do that, you're going to feel your belly engage, activate. Driving your spine down does that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to activate more belly and bring more core to the surface so that your brain can connect with those muscles. I'm not going to push with my feet now in this next few reps. My feet are on the floor. I can feel them on the surface of the floor, but they're heavy and they're not allowed to push. So now I'm going to go ahead and use my belly muscles, my abs and my core muscles are engaging, and then I'm going to bring it out. That engages the lower back muscles. Engage, tuck, arch. No feet, no feet. The feet are down, but they're not helping. I prefer that your head's forward, okay? So that keeps your neck nice and straight. Feel what that feels like. We're going from moving the core in maximum range where we get the feet to help to now using the core muscles to connect and engage. And then stop and take a deep breath in. So perhaps you do 5, 6, or 7 with the feet and then go right into 5, 6, or 7 with no feet. Now we're going to go into the second dimension. So that first one was rocking forward and back. Now we're going to rock side to side. Using the feet again, I'm going to push one hip to one ear. This closes this gap. And then switch, push the other hip to the other ear. So I'm swiveling my hips. I call this a windshield wiper. So if you would extend my tailbone, you would see sort of a windshield wiper. I'm using my feet. When you use your feet, you get to enjoy the maximum range. You're establishing your maximum range. This is work through the lower spine. Where your spine hits the pelvis is getting a lot of juicing. And it's also swiveling at the hip socket. So this is really good for lubricating those joints. Okay, now I'm going to take the legs out of it. Again, my feet are on the floor, but I'm not allowed to push. And I'm going to do the same action. Now it's really going to bring out the muscles of the core, especially those oblique muscles. So what you should feel is you should feel all this be more activated and come to the surface more. Also, usually what we'll see is that the range is a little bit less because you just don't have as much range when you're not using your feet. Okay, stop, take a deep breath in. Now we're going to go into the third dimension. We're going to go one hip up, other hip up. One hip up, other hip up. Using the feet, one hip up, other hip up. One hip up, other hip up. So by definition, if I drive one hip up, I'm also driving the other hip down. I could cue you that way. I could say one hip down, one hip down, one hip down. So you're moving perfectly vertically now. And I'm trying to get the most range of motion I can. I'm using my feet. This really moves you at the hip socket and really moves you at the spine. Okay, now take the feet out of it. This is much harder. You're going to see my range is much more limited. So when I'm watching somebody do this, and I'm checking to see if they really take the feet out of it, one of the things I'm looking for is their range. Their range must get a lot smaller, because if you see just as much range, you know that they're still using their feet. Okay, stop and breathe. Okay, so what you would do is practice that. That takes time to make the connection between the brain and all the muscles that are involved in moving that pelvis. This is a basic foundational piece of working core properly. It's something I do when people have back injuries, when people have knee injuries, when people have hip injuries. It's so good to get life into those areas. So many times what we see with pain in those areas is really just lack of resources, and the pain is your body's way of telling you, getting your attention, and telling you, I need some attention, I need some help. So pain gets turned up, the volume of pain gets turned up, your body notices it. Now if you don't heed that warning, then the body, the one way it has of getting your attention more is by turning up the pain. A lot of times just by resourcing the tissues, that means bringing oxygen, nutrients, hydration, heat, life, vitality, life force to those areas, and pushing the toxins out, good stuff in, bad stuff out. A lot of times just doing that for the body reduces pain in a big way. Hope you enjoy that.